Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to what is probably or possibly the most anticipated Comic Art Live creator interview and art sale that we've maybe ever had here. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's nice to have so many people in the chat already. Probably many of you are from the Hembeck Facebook group where a lot of fun banter has been going on for the last couple of weeks. I'm sure quite well, who knows? I can't be sure, but with all the different times that have been said in the chat, I hope that everybody from that group is here. Today, we're going to find out if Fred Hembeck can destroy the Comic Art Live universe. So without further ado, let me bring the man into the chat, Mr. Hembeck.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. Or be seen by
Welcome.
you all. I don't see you. You see me.
Yes, that's how it works on when we're on these streams like this, Fred. But so I'm glad we made this. We've been emailing via between Jim for a while, and we finally were able to work out a time and a date that works well for us both. So I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is a fun thing for me.
Now, have you done interviews via like a live stream before with a live audience?
I'm not sure if they had a live audience. Yeah, I think once or twice. I've done about maybe 5 situations like this, either podcasts or sometimes with the camera.
Mm-hmm.
At least 1 or 2 were live, but others weren't. It's been about a year since the last time I did one, so here we go.
I'm getting told my mic isn't close enough to me. So is that better? That's got to be better. Now it's in my way. Yep.
Am I coming across loud enough?
Oh yeah, you're loud and clear. So,
okay.
So as everybody can see, Fred, he's got some Pikachus in the back there. Those are not his though. Just so you know, the SpongeBob and
Also,
the Pikachu. Those
SpongeBob
are his.
also. SpongeBob also.
Is that yours or is that your wife's too?
Well, SpongeBob was my particular obsession for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Loved the SpongeBob. So yeah, at one point I was getting SpongeBob gifts from my daughter for Christmas and birthdays, and had all kinds of stuff. So Pikachu, yeah, that was given to my daughter, but it's still here because my wife likes Pokemon as well. I do a little Pokemon, but I'm not. By no means am I anywhere near as obsessed as those two were.
Well, it seems that the color yellow might play into the characters that you like as well. As Tweety, is Tweety on the list?
Well, Tweety. Let's not forget the Ray.
That's right.
All yellow. Or AIM, my favorite scientists.
Yep, that's true. That is true. So see, we're already getting questions in the audience. But one of the things I think that that I see people mention a lot, and I have to say it too, because I got your artwork packed really, really nicely, but it was wrapped in a Trader Joe's bag. You recycle a lot, right? As far as like your packing materials and things.
I always use brown paper bags to send stuff out because why buy? You get them for free. Get some tape.
Exactly.
And there you go. No need to buy mailers.
I mean, hey, I'm with you. If I could get away with that, I would. I'm usually shipping 11 by 17, so we ship in like Masonite or something. But why not? When you're shipping cards, you can, as long as it's sort of firm, you can put it in almost anything.
Well, the cards I just put in little regular envelopes. That was something I came up with when the pandemic hit, because I didn't want to go to the post office anymore. So instead of packaging about 5 or 6 cards when somebody would buy in an envelope or a big package, I would just put them in the 2 per envelope, put it out front. My mailman would pick it up, and I wouldn't have to go anywhere near the COVID.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know. I work from home too, so I pleasantly avoided COVID for over 2 years, but finally picked it up over the holiday last year. I got it, but it wasn't so bad. So, but yeah,
I'm still good, still COVID free.
That is good to hear. And as we know, you keep stocking up your eBay store regularly with great auctions for your fans. It's always fun to see those. I mean, you've been doing that for a long time. And
a long time. Can't believe how long.
How many times do you think you've drawn your self-portrait?
Well, I always scribble one on the back of every one of my cards, but they're just scribbles for the most part. But realistically, not realistically, but in a more controlled manner, thousands of times, I'm sure. It all, that all started by accident because I was, I went to college and I had some roommates. And after I got out of college, I was going to go down to Marvel in DC and become a cartoonist. And I prepared myself a portfolio to bring in. It was straight stuff, not the kind of stuff I draw.
Mm-hmm.
But to keep myself going, to keep myself drawing during that summer, because it was after, everybody graduated in May. I wrote a lot of letters. This is before the internet, to my ex-roommates and stuff, and I used a little caricature of myself in little cartoons. I wrote little cartoon letters because I wanted to be really wanted to be in the mindset of being a cartoonist. And so I kind of adopted this caricature, which my friends knew what I looked like. I had the beard, I had the part in the middle. Didn't have glasses in, but by the time I had glasses, I didn't feel like futzing around with it and changing it. And so I did that for a couple of months. And then after I went to Marvel in DC, and they both said, "No, we don't think we want to use you, Mr. Hembeck." Actually, they didn't say it like that, but they did, say, "No, no, thanks." I was getting ready for another portfolio, and while I was working on that, I decided to do a strip that I would send into the Comics Buyer's Guide, a little cartoon about me interviewing Spider-Man, because I had a lot of opinions about comics. Obviously, I like jokes, and I drew stuff, and I had this caricature, and I said, well, why don't I interview, do a little interview with Spider-Man? It was 9 panels, and sent it in, and Alan Light, the publisher, liked it enough to say, you should send some more. And from that point on, I never did that second portfolio I was going to,
Mm-hmm.
take into Marvel DC, because this all came this way. And even though I'm very white now, I still, it's still brown when they publish it, the caricature. I mean, I'm
What
not
year was
changing.
that when you sent your first strip into them?
Let's see. That would have been 76. Yeah. 1976.
Wow. And
And
they
a year
and
later, I was doing those DC Hembeck cards, not cards, but strips,
mm-hmm.
which amazes me. I didn't know how that happened that fast.
Well, you caught on. I mean, so the first strip that you sent in, the one where you interviewed Spider-Man, got published.
Yeah. About a year earlier, I had sent in a cover, which was a montage of drawn in a straight style from the Superman George Reeves TV show, which they used as a cover. And then I sent another covering, but they didn't use it. So I said, well, maybe who knows? And then a few months later, I did this strip, and that kind of started things going. Well, also, that's true. Besides that, I would send in these cartoon letters to various letter columns, because I had a bunch of letters published in the early 70s and stuff here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point, I started sending them in cartoon wise. And Bill Mantlo liked it so much that he said, I really like that letter you sent into Iron Man, but we can't publish it because it's done in, multicolor. But if you could do it over in black and white, we can publish it. And this is the one thing I have to show here today. This here's the Marvel Masterworks.
Yeah.
For volume 12 of the Invincible Iron Man. I bought a number of these Masterworks that reprinted this stuff in the the mid to late 60s, but I gave it up after a while. But a friend of mine, sent me a copy of this one, because in this this volume, they actually reprinted my first published artwork from Iron Man 112. Now, I never thought this thing would wind up in a hardcover, this drawing, because they sent me $35. I got paid $35 to that. And at the time, that so impressed me, because I thought, well, who knows if I'm ever going to get published by Marvel again. I photocopied the check and I actually put it up on my wall in front of my desk at the other house we used to live at. I don't know where it is now. But yeah, it was a big deal for me. And yikes, there you go. And then I became a cartoonist.
Well, did you get the original back from Marvel?
I think I did. I think so. I'm not 100% sure about that, though.
But either way,
Good
it's
point.
not in your possession anymore, probably, right?
No, I didn't. If I got it back, I didn't sell it.
Oh, good, good.
No,
Well, and then it's
I've sold.
in the Hembeck archives.
Yeah, all my early books, the ones that I did for Fanico in like around 1979, 1980, 81, 80. So I didn't sell. I still have all the artwork for that. But when I started not redoing, but reviving the Dateline strip in Buyer's Guide in, I guess it was the 90s, I've sold some of those. And I've sold a bunch of my Marvel artwork
Mm-hmm.
too. But I got a big pile of stuff.
Well, that's
Tell
good.
my
And
daughter,
I
hold on
should
to this.
remind everybody too that we are going to be auctioning off 6 pieces, towards the end of the broadcast today. So, about an hour from now, we'll start that. I should have mentioned that at the outset, but I know most of you already knew that.
Yep.
We've got
Spoiler alert, though, that piece is not included.
that one is not part of this, but a 30-year-old piece of Marvel art, published Marvel art which is pretty cool. So that is one of the pieces that we've got, and a Avengers cover as well, which I haven't told people what the cover was before. I think I just told them it was Marvel. Now I've told you now I've let them all know it is in fact an Avengers cover with 16 characters on it. I don't know. There's a lot published, but there was a nice comment in here. Where was it? From Ram. Ram mentioned that, Fred, you are the source of one of my earliest fond comic book memories, a gag where you had Hawkgirl leaving Hawkman to join Paul McCartney to form the Paul McCartney and Wings. You remember that one?
No, but it amuses me now that you mentioned it. Okay.
Well, you've done a lot of gags in your time. I mean, obviously, I assume you never had any. Did you ever have any ghostwriters, anybody helping you, or was it all coming right out of Hembeck's mind?
No, it's all mine, with the sole exception of the most recent thing. The Howard Chaykin book that's currently out, the one Hey Kids Comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but in the most recent issue, there's a Dateline strip in there by me. Only it's not by me. It was written by, I can't remember his name. I apologize. The fellow who was working with Howard on that book. So it was it was my character, Fred, interviewing 2 of the fake superhero characters, and then later 2 of the fake professional cartoonist and writer. And the guy really wrote it as if, it sounded like I wrote it. He was very good. He got the whole thing down. But that was the only time I ever had something that wasn't written by me that had my name saying I written it, because he wanted to keep along the little storyline going along.
All right. Well, that makes sense. So Carlos Mo says, Fred, let's see your knees. But
I got elbows.
And your elbows. We can see the elbows.
Yeah.
There are no circular lines on them. But so when you were talking about doing the cartoons for your friends in college, did you already have that signature spiral on the elbows and the knees when you were doing that?
No, surprisingly not. I only say surprisingly because at a certain point they published all these Dateline strips in that omnibus that came out in 2008, I believe it was. And I looked and I saw on the very first strip, there were no squiggles on the Spider-Man, the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
But the second strip, there were. And I think it was because I realized that's too much white space. I needed something in there, And so I pulled out the squiggles, which I think I got from the Dennis the Menace comics that Al Wiseman drew. I know he used to put them on the elbows and sometimes the knees. Or it could have been Don Martin, although that was a few years later with Mad, or Mort Walker. Those are the people always think I invented that. I didn't invent it. I just stole it from someone. And now people think I invented it. Sorry, guys.
No, I do remember it, but I don't recall what strip it was from. I think it might have been Dennis the Menace, but I'd have to go back and look myself now. But no, well, it became your signature at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That and your likenesses and the facial expressions and the shorthand that you used in your caricatures for the characters that we all love. I think is what endeared us to you. But it sounds like it, I would have thought that maybe it might have been a little bit more difficult to get those first pieces published by Marvel or DC, but it sounds like once they saw the humor and it was that era, right? Mad was so wildly popular back in the 70s. That maybe Marvel and DC were looking at this as an opportunity to kind of infuse a little bit of that zany humor. I mean, that Brand Eck was out, or, in the mid 70s, I think, as well. So, or even earlier. So, I mean, your stuff just kind of fit right in, I think, right? Or do you
I
not think
guess
that?
so, yeah. Well, first, although the first thing was in the Iron Man comic, then it was I was asked to work for DC on those
Hmm.
little strips. They during this time period, I would have almost a weekly thing in the buyer's guide. So the professionals were seeing the buyer's guide, so they would see this stuff. They said, "Oh, why don't we use this guy?" And so I did that for a while, but then after a while, they got rid of that direct currents page, and that was the end there. And at which point, Jim Salicrup, I believe it was, over at Marvel, said, "Now that you're not, a DC artist anymore, how about working for Marvel Age?" And that I jumped in there. I don't remember which issue it was. It was one of the. It was before they got to issue 10, I'm pretty sure. And
Hmm.
then I was pretty much there all the way till the end.
I know I bought Marvel Age religiously back in the day. So that's probably where I first saw you, and then I would see earlier stuff pop up, and when I was started buying back issues and things. So, but you were always a mystery. It's like, who is this Hembeck guy? And
Yeah.
then so,
Yeah.
but then, but obviously then you got to do stuff like, you got to destroy the Marvel universe. You got to kind of, have your way at certain times with some of the characters. And I mean, was there ever any issues with editorial on your approaches to humor, and just, I mean, because it was all rather PC, the things that you were having them do, or the situations you were putting them in.
Yeah. Well, not really, except for the kind of a crazy thing that happened around the destruction of the Marvel Universe, because, that was originally supposed to be a 48-page book instead of a 32-pager. And there was this kind of framing story that was set in the Marvel offices, and it starred Jim Shooter, who was in charge at that point. But by the time the book was ready to go, Jim Shooter wasn't working for Marvel anymore. So that's why it got put aside, and then they scrapped the storyline that went around it, and they had me doing a new one, a couple of 4 or 5 pages, and that's how it that's how it finally came out. I do have a website, and if people wanted to see the storyline, these 16 or so, I don't know, 20 pages, which features Jim Shooter and his 3 assistants, Bruce, Clark, and Diana. And that's on my website. You can see that. I always like that story. I like that part of this book better than the actual destruction, because that was kind of a weird thing to have to do. I had done the Fantastic Four roast,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what led to this. And I really enjoyed doing that because, roasting a bunch of characters is kind of a fun thing, but trying to come up with a way to kill them all and have some fun with it, it was kind of a dicey proposition that I finally made it through, but it took a while.
Yeah, I was just trying to see. I know I've saved some of the images off to the side, but I can't find my Destroys the Marvel Universe cover. But yeah, no, those were fun. I mean, and again, as a introduction to you and your humor, for a lot of people, I think that it was enjoyable. I mean, Marvel Age was cool to see your work in regularly, but still, those were good. And the Fantastic Four roast, one of
Yeah.
the greatest Marvel covers of all time, right?
Oh, thank you. I still have that cover.
You should keep that one. That one's
Yeah,
that's a well, I mean, fun, and you're on it. So I mean, what a wonderful thing.
sure.
That was the era, though, when people were doing a lot of zines, kind of artworks, and drawing just large crowds. I mean, that was indicative of things that we had seen in Mad and Crazy and things, and to see scenes like that drawn for Marvel Comics by someone, because you weren't going to get John Byrne to do that, or Milgram, or anybody. It could only be you that could pull something like that off. And so you were bringing in a brand of humor that we were digesting in independent zines that we were getting at our local shops, whether it was the record store or whatever. And then we get to see that same kind of artwork and humor brought into Marvel Comics. It was, to me, it was a revelation. I thought it was wonderful. And I still have my copy of the Fantastic Four roast, because it was just, the cover was great. turn in the first page, you get Ben Grimm in the tub. I mean,
Yep.
I mean, that was, yeah,
That was
again,
fun.
very memorable moments.
Yeah, it was great. It was fun working with all those different artists. It was very odd because I would send them layouts, and I would get the pages back, not in necessarily the order in which they were being published. So I would have to write these pages uh, without necessarily the continuity of the next page being in front of me. But it all worked out pretty well, and I'm very proud of that book. I like that book a lot better than
Right,
the
because that one
construction one.
you wrote it and you did layouts on that one, right?
Layouts,
So
yeah.
you
Yep.
had a lot of there was a lot of people from the bullpen and whatnot that helped kind of
Oh,
do
well,
the
you had
finishing.
like Walt Simonson and Mike Golden. You had John Byrne, Frank Miller. Frank Miller was nice enough to actually give me the page that he worked on, as did John Byrne, now that I think of it. So I have those pages in my possession as well.
Don't,
I
yes,
did layouts for Frank Miller.
that's
Who
pretty
else can
darn
say
cool.
that? Who else can say that?
Not too many people. A
There
lot
you
of people
go.
can, several could say they finished Frank Miller's layouts, but not the other
Right.
way around.
Nope, that's me. I'm the guy who did it.
Wow. Yeah, don't ever don't let those go. Keep a hold of those, Fred.
No,
As you know,
yeah,
you know
exactly.
what the comic art market is like these days.
I
That
could only imagine what that Frank Miller page would go for.
yeah, don't yeah. I'd love to see it one day, like the original, like a scan of it, but no, I mean, don't ever let them go. Those a lot of,
Yeah,
because you always hear about that stuff, right? On a lot of the artists sold their stuff for cheap, early on. I mean, not many held on to it. We see Al Milgram auctioning off a lot of his originals. He gave a lot of it to Heritage a couple of years ago, and you see those come out a lot, but too many artists let it go early. So yeah, keep those.
yeah.
Those are well, they're wonderful to have. I mean, shoot, like you just said, how often can you get to say that Miller did the finishes on your pencils, or Byrne? So
Right.
that's unbelievable. Antoine, see, everybody remembers these one-liners. I don't know, I've never been good at dad jokes or anything like that, but Antoine says, I still remember the trademark humor. Verily the thing is bald, but my brother is balder, says Thor. So
Yeah, yeah. I love puns. I just do. I know people mock puns, but I think puns are good. If you approach them the correct way, if you build them up the right way, they can be funny.
yes, and Ram emailed me the Hot Girl strip, but it's on my other computer. I'll try to get it off, and we could show it later today, before we're done here today. I promise I will do it.
Okay.
I'm just making sure I didn't miss any other funny things that people were talking about. Oh well, Josh, I know that Christmas themed trading cards are something you do every year, or at least you've been doing them for quite some
Yeah,
time. And Fred,
yeah.
Fred or Josh suggests that you do a Hanukkah card or two with all the Christmas cards that go out. Just a
That's a
thought.
very good idea.
Yeah,
I'll have to figure out how to do that. I will try that. I will try that. Yeah,
thank
that
you
would
for
be
that.
right.
Yeah,
I just
and
It made me realize, I was trying to think the other day, what character have I drawn more on any of my cards
mm,
over these? I think, was it Spider-Man? Was it Superman? And I realized, no, Santa Claus.
that's
Santa Claus is on it. All those, every year I do 20, 30, 40 cards of Santa with somebody else. So,
mhm,
man, I love that Santa.
that's true.
Love
Uh,
that Santa.
Alberto wanted to know, how do you decide which cards to draw and how often to redo the characters? Because I know that comes up a lot in the Facebook group where they're like, what do you think
Yeah,
Fred's going to do? And there's people who are trying to like complete teams of characters. So they're like,
yeah,
when am I going to get a chance at another thing? Because I've got the other three Fantastic Four.
yeah.
So what is your methodology there?
Well, I try not to repeat too soon. Um, that's pretty much it. I look around for some thing, because I have a bunch of photocopies of the
Hmm.
old ones, and I look around and say, I haven't done that one in quite a while. Like just before I got on here, I was doing a few cards, and I pulled out a Swarm. You remember Swarm was
Hmm.
a villain, a Marvel villain. So
Yeah.
I haven't done it in a long time. But I also realized that I probably should do the popular ones at least once every couple of months, because a month, I think I should. So around Christmas, I'm going to probably, not around Christmas, but around early December, I'll probably put up a bunch of icons, we would call them: Spider-Man, Superman, Captain America, and stuff. But there are still like still ones I've never done. I've never done the 7 Blackhawks. So someday I need to do Hendrickson and Olaf. But if I do Chop Chop, it'll be in the 1960s version. I'm not doing the 1940s version of Chop Chop. It's one of the ones I'm not going to do.
I don't
But
blame
yeah,
you.
it's just a matter of, and sometimes it's a matter of, geez, I need to get a bunch of these cards up. What's an easy one to do? So,
Well, how many do you do every week? I mean, we see how many you post. I assume you're posting them as you complete them, roughly.
Well, I try to have a little bit of a stockpile, but there was a period a couple of years ago where I had actually 150 ahead of time, but I'm only about 40 up now.
Wow.
But I try to get a bunch. And if there was a time a few months ago, and I was like only 5 ahead of myself. It's a compulsion, I tell you. That's what Lynn tells me. You're compulsive.
Back to on the Hanukkah idea, E.C. Harris said you could do Human Torch lighting the menorah.
That's yeah, I like that idea. Okay.
Yep, and then Josh mentions Shadowcat spinning the dreidel, so that's another one. I mean, why not, right? There's the ideas are starting to flow, and we still got a month plus till the holidays are upon us. So yeah, plenty of time. Goo mentions that they enjoyed the Simpson style sketch cards you did earlier this year.
Yeah, I meant to finish up doing those. I kind of stopped at a certain point. Never quite got to the main family. I should finish it up though, because it was kind of fun.
You're going to have like 7 collectors with different cards, and they're all going to want to complete a set or complete a couple or a family, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah. When I do a group, I try to put them all out within like a week. Usually, not always. Like I'll get on an alpha flight thing, have put up one each day for about a week and a half. Other times I just pull one out in random,
Southern Comic Geek says that he needs a set of Valiant characters from you.
Oh, the Valiant. Yeah. That would be Magnus and Solar and yeah. I've done Magnus and Solar, but not lately.
See, people are putting in their requests now. E.C. Harris says need a few more New Warriors pieces. Derek Cantrell says, I miss your cover recreations. We do have one today. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But those are a lot of work, though. I recall. I mean, I remember in the email exchanges that we've had over the last few months, I think you mentioned that the cover recreations, even at the sketch card size, are just a lot of work.
They are. And they're difficult too, especially to get the everything precise when it comes to that size. I used to do the big ones, like 10 by 15. I did so many of those. I look back and I go, oh my God. Those logos used to drive me crazy because you had to get them precise. The actual drawing was usually fun, but the logos were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That was an outgrowth of a strip I did because back when I was doing the strips, the Dateline strips, I call them. There was no internet, and if I wanted to, say, hey, this Jimmy Olsen cover was really goofy. So how would I really explain that? Oh, I know. I'll just kind of redraw it on this page and write some things about on the side, and that's kind of how I got the idea of redrawing covers.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not a bad approach. I mean, you're looking at the books that you love and then trying to pick out pieces and elements that you want to riff on or comment on. And that's an easy weekly strip for you. I love that. I didn't even think about it, but no, I mean, well, you see, so you were like the early, an early person who was out there, really digesting the books and kind of putting your own spin on them, writing things that maybe a lot of other people weren't seeing. I mean, maybe they were sending in letters to the editor about their thoughts on the characters, but you were able to just put it all out there in a cartoon format that was easier for us to digest and appreciate. Let's see, where was that? I know I missed a couple of things. Other suggestions that Mr. Easy Go Lucky wanted to know if you're the model for your Santa drawings. I think that's tongue in cheek. Thank you. Your wife
Just
might say
just
that.
the beard.
Just the beard. Mikhail mentions that I'd love to see more musicians from you in the future. If that's
Yeah, I've
possible.
done it. Yeah, I'm not great at caricatures, but occasionally I can, pull one off. Like I did a couple of Weird Owls in the past, and
Mm-hmm.
an Elvis here or there. I love
Oh,
musicians. I just don't draw them very well.
well, I don't. The ones that you've done well, or that they wouldn't be asking for more. But
Yeah,
what is there? James Bella mentions that well, they're curious if you're going to be going back to conventions again. Always love getting a con sketch from you. Somebody mentioned that they regret not seeing you at the Albany shows of late.
yeah. I'm staying clear for now, just because there's a lot of things going on at
Yeah,
home with my in-laws, so I kind of have to be around here quite a bit. So I'm not making any plans, except I made a plan to be on here with you today.
exactly. And you can always get stuff through eBay, through your eBay
Yes,
store.
indeed.
What other? Alberto mentioned that you haven't done the Warriors 3 from Thor that he can remember, but he wants a Lady Sif. You've
Oh,
probably
I've
done
done the
all. I was gonna say you've probably done all
yeah.
4 of those.
Yes, I've done the Warriors 3 quite a bit, but apparently not since Alberto's jumped on board. Maybe I need to do them again. In fact, I thank you for reminding me. That would be that'd be something, and a Lady Sif as well. Sure, the one that Kirby did, very easy costume.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing much to do there. Then Walt does it, and it's like takes you an hour to redraw. Walt Simonson's characters will take you extra time to redraw. He's so detailed. Those Norsemen.
Oh, Mikhail mentions here too about that. He was mentioning the musicians. He said that you did the Simpsons and the Rolling Stones.
Oh, the Simpsons
Simpsons, yeah,
musicians.
yeah, that would have been good. And Antoine, we actually did discuss the origin of the Hembeck elbow and like around the 10-minute mark, but he didn't create it. That's the main thing.
I stole it.
He stole it and made it his own.
Yeah. It's an homage. I do a lot of homage. I homage a lot.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's
I
what
guess not.
Jeff Wedding says. Bring Fred back for Fred Brewery. All right,
Oh, there you go.
We can do that. That's
Sure.
like 4 months down the road or so. We were talking about that. We were like, if this is fun and we have a good time, and
Yeah.
Fred said he'd be more than welcome or happy to come back, and I told him he would always be welcome, because I know we have an audience that loves his work. And like we talked ahead of this, Fred, and again, people haven't seen you since the pandemic. I mean, this is an opportunity, like the first opportunity for a lot of these people to actually see you in the flesh. The last time I saw you was, and I didn't realize it was your only Mid Ohio appearance, but it was in 2009 at the Mid Ohio Con. And the only reason I knew that was because when I was going through looking at some imagery from you, I saw you had done the cover to Mid Ohio Con 2009, and that's when I was like, I even have that laying around here somewhere. So
that too was an homage.
That was.
It was from the Marvel Secret Wars cover that Mike Zeck did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they asked me to do that. I don't remember how it worked, to tell you the truth. But okay, yep.
All right. So,
but can I tell you something?
Yeah, please do.
Has nothing to do with comics, but it just amuses the hell out of me.
Okay.
When I was at that convention, the last night, Lynn and I stepped out to a little eatery near the hotel, and didn't have a dinner, but just like a snack and a coffee or whatever. And when the bill came, and I'm not making this up, it said on the bill, the price was $14.92, and it said Columbus, Ohio underneath it. So it said $14.92 Columbus. How did that happen?
Did you save that?
Yeah, but I don't know where it is now. But I did save it.
You got to find the copy of the program book from that show. It's probably in it.
Oh, that would make sense.
That's great. That is funny. How can you remember that? That would have been like shoot, out of there. But okay.
No, that's the kind of things I remember. The important stuff I don't need. I have no idea. But the crazy, nutty stuff like that's what sticks in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Alberto's seconding the idea that we have an annual Fred Brewery. Okay, we'll talk about that afterwards. Just don't anybody go out there and try to trademark Fred Brewery. All right, before
Yeah.
Fred and I have a chance to talk about it.
We can always schedule it for the 30th.
Yeah, that would. Listen, there was already enough, miss dates thrown out there for the last
Yeah.
2 weeks about this. Even an hour ago, somebody had said, everybody remember to set your clocks back 2 hours right now. See you in the chat. So everybody was trying to do a little misdirection on when the show starts tonight, this afternoon. So and here's another one. David McPherson even mentions old time horror movie characters that you've done on some cards. So you've really touched on just like almost anything pop culture if it strikes you. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. And if I can, it seems like it's something I could draw. At one point, I did a series of authors, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe. The one that killed me the most was I did Truman Capote. I go, I'm selling a Truman Capote card today, folks. So it's like, that's like, wow. But I haven't done Truman in a while. I should probably do him with Santa Claus, but I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I saw. See, somebody mentioned no OAX. No, so Fred wasn't. We didn't ask Fred to go to OAX because I knew that he's not traveling. But Fred, I'm actually doing my first in-person show at the end of January. And
oh, really?
Part of Comic Art Fans. The name of the show is the Original Art Expo, but definitely, you would have an open invitation to come down, whenever you and Lynn are open to traveling again. But and the thing is, we're actually having several, like 2 major collectors of trading card art, but so obviously things that are published sketch card size, but more of stuff like the Marvel Masterworks artworks and stuff. So there's going to be a lot of sketch cards being done there, and and just artwork that people probably have never even seen before. Stuff like from Boris and Julie Bell, those types of artists who were doing card art in the 90s. So it would have actually been a very appropriate show for you to kind of be a part of. But sometime in the future, whenever you're open to doing shows again, I would love to have you down here. It's in Orlando. So and in January, so it's warm, right? I mean, might be a good time to travel.
Is there anything else to do in Orlando?
Well, there's a
just
beach
some time there.
An hour in either direction, so you got.
Oh, that would be good. Of course, yeah.
If
I want to go to the beach, why not start in the middle of Florida and work my way to either side?
All right. Well, I mean, yes. Hey, there's a Legoland park right there. SeaWorld has a big park with roller coasters right there in Orlando.
Hey, there's a Legoland park nearby me now.
I heard about that.
Yeah. I haven't been there yet, but of course, sometimes I think I'm at the Leg of Lamb Park, but that's a different restaurant. The Leg of Lamb Park. So I see these are puns again. Sometimes they go over, sometimes they just die. My wife, I kill a lot of them die for her, but she laughs at some of them. I never know. She's good.
Do you know, if she laughs, is that a keeper, or is that one that?
Well, it depends on if it's a derisive laugh or a real laugh.
So you can tell when when she honestly finds it funny, or she thinks it's one of the more lamer jokes that you've thrown out there. You can tell the difference.
Definitely. Oh yeah, I know by now. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's a lot of thoughts on cards you've put out there, and ones that people would like you to do. Goose said pro wrestlers seems up your alley.
I never really got in. Wrestling became popular after I was, I guess, would have been influenced by that. So I don't know anything about wrestling. So I don't want to. I would feel like I'm like a faker or something if I started doing wrestling cards and trying to take advantage of that. But you never know.
You never know. Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it.
Yeah. Let's see. Where else is there? There was that. I don't know. Somebody said you should draw Alan Moore. They'd like to see a Hembeck version of Alan Moore.
I've done Alan Moore.
You've done him before?
You remember when I was talking about the authors? He was one of the authors.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. I've done it several times. I've even told once that his daughter saw it and she liked it. So I never met Alan Moore, never communicated with him, but.
So what was what's that?
I just said someone told me his daughter was a fan of mine, so I don't know. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. There was Todd mentions that you did a Cheers like bar scene for him with the FF and a couple dozen supporting characters. Lots of good imagery in that one.
I
Um,
vaguely remember that. Yeah. Not really, though.
Not really.
Not
You've done
really.
so many, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah. I try to keep copies of everything, but some things get shunned to the side, and I haven't looked at them in years. So
did you paint the? It looks like a bowl of fruit on the wall. Is that your artwork there?
no, no, that's a friend of ours.
Okay.
I My artwork's in the other room. The only I have that Frank Miller uh, page framed, the Daredevil,
Hmm.
and I also had two of my own pieces framed, but they weren't really my own pieces in a way because they were both double page spreads, and one was my tribute to Steve Ditko's Spider-Man that
Hmm.
was in my first book, and the other one was a two-page salute to Jack Kirby's Captain America that ran in Marvel Age. So it was kind of like I framed myself doing my favorite cartoonist artwork or
Sure.
something. Yeah.
Wow. Uh, yeah, we have this thing that we haven't done in a while. On my regular Thursday show it's an update show, but we have people send in videos of them flipping through their like portfolio and talking about them. We actually had a flip just of Hembeck cards by Jeff Wedding.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, believe it or
Yeah.
not. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was literally, it was like 5 minutes of just looking at
Uh-huh.
how he grouped them, by team or by
Uh-huh.
theme, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I should have like pulled that up to show it to you, but I'll send you a link after the show so you can see it. But yeah, Jeff
Yeah.
he's got probably one of the better collections of Hembeck cards.
He's been around. He's been buying the cards for quite a while.
Yeah,
So
he's
yeah.
he's a giver. I've got at least 6 of your cards over there on the back bookshelf that he's sent me over the last couple of years. I got a Thor and a Jean Grey Phoenix, and gosh, I can't even remember
Okay.
what else I have. Yeah, he's
Wow.
he's he's one of the best. He'll be at OAX. He's got some fun things planned for us when we get down there in January. There you go. He says he's been buying from you since 2011.
Okay, that's a while. Yep. Yeah, I believe it was Jeff. It was who sent me a package of my card holders because I guess he puts them in a booklet
Mhm.
or something. He didn't need them anymore, and I thank you, Jeff. Thank you. I recycle them and send them out to other people with cards in them.
There you go. And Greg McKee said one of my first pieces of original art was a Hembeck head sketch in a copy of Ba Hembeck that I ordered through the CBG. So
Wow,
that's not
that's
bad.
interesting. I
Well,
didn't. Yeah.
people get into original art collecting in so many different ways, right? I mean, sometimes it's people who get a remark in a book on it, whether it's on the cover or in an inscription to a book like Ba Hembeck.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, it's the more art collectors that there are, the better. The more fun our hobby is. But it's funny what the gateway is for that. But sometimes it's something as simple as just getting a sketch in a book, right?
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I got what do I have? Oh, Guillermo del Toro. I'd gotten a gift from the Hero Initiative. I had done some work for them like
Hmm.
15 years ago, and Jim sent me a book like the Art of Hellboy or something like that. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I got an Art of Hellboy book, and I opened it up, and there's a Guillermo del Toro self-portrait, kind of
Yeah.
Hembeck like, if I have to say, drawn in it, and it said something, 2 bills, something like that, and I just thought that was awesome. But I could see if somebody else, got that, how pretty cool that would be. But speaking of like, Ba Hembeck and those sorts of things, I mean, how did those books come about? I mean, because you had different series of those back in the
Yeah.
day.
Well, it came about as you know, I was doing the strip in the buyer's guide,
Hmm.
and they were accumulating. There's a bunch of them at a certain point, and there was a small independent company called Eclipse that Dean Mullaney was and his brother were running, and they had put out a book called Saber by Don McGregor and I believe it was Paul Gulacy.
Paul Gulacy, yeah.
Yeah, and I knew Richard Brunning, we had corresponded back and forth. When I was in the buyer's guide, I would write my address on the bottom of the page, and for a while I was getting so much mail from various people and stuff, and I was answering stuff, and Richard and I became friendly. And then he says, I'm friends with Dean, and they need another book. The Second Saber is taking too long, and they really would like to get another book out. And I suggested, why don't we collect some of your Dateline strips, and that would be a book. So I said, okay, that sounds great. And they decided to call it Hembeck, because I'd had those little strips in the Daily Planet DC Comics, and people knew the name from there, so they thought that'd be Hembeck, the best of Dateline. And so, I did a couple of new pages, including that center spread I was talking about of the Ditko stuff. And so they published that book, and then they were going to publish the second one, but things got slowed down, and it didn't really work out. And I had just moved to Troy, New York, which was near Albany, where they had a comic shop called Fantico, where a good friend of mine was working, and I would go there to buy my comics, and they were getting interested in publishing stuff. And they said, well, why don't we publish your books if Eclipse is not going to do it? So Eclipse said, okay, you can have Fantico publish them. So I then had Fantico publish the next, 5 or 6 books. And then after that, I kind of trailed off. But that's how it happened. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you about Fantico because I wasn't familiar with the name, but I saw that they had published, like you said, like the last 6, like maybe volume 7 was maybe the last one. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was wondering how you got to working with them. So they were actually a comic shop
they were a comic shop. Yeah. That I would, go to each week and stuff. So they were right there. Whereas, as opposed to dealing through the mail and the phone with the other company. And of course, everybody would ask me, "You're working for Fantagraphics now?" No.
Close, not quite though.
You don't know how many times I would hear that, boy.
Well, I thought that too when I first looked at it, and then I'm like, no, Fantico, never heard of them.
Yeah,
but
they still do a few things these days.
Do they?
I say they still put out a few things. They got more heavily into like horror material, movies and stuff along those lines. They didn't really do the comics. That's right. They were going to do a comic with an artist who worked there, Raul Vizina, Smiling Ed, and he was kind of taking a long time to get it done. And so they said, well, why don't we publish your book? And then we did a Smiling Ed book too. Unfortunately, Raul, who's a very, very talented fellow, he passed away, in the late 80s. It's been a long time now.
Wow.
So that's the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
So one of the things people comment a lot about with your sketch cards is, they like especially those who've collected them a long time, they appreciate the changing beard length and changing hair length here or there. It's almost like it's autobiographical with your head sketches on the back. I mean, did you know that? Because those are comments and things that
I just kind of scroll those things. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. Huh.
Well, it's true. It's true.
Okay.
If
you read it on the internet, it's true.
Yes. But I forget who we were corresponding with once, and they were talking about that, and I thought that's funny. You're literally kind of documenting your hairstyle and beard length over time for everybody. It could be like a flip book if you have enough of them.
Yeah.
So here, Alberto has a question. What is it? He says, do you remember people are asking you to remember the pieces that you've done for them. Fred, do you remember the piece you did about George Perez and the Avengers? It has you saying Avengers, the secret of George Perez, consistent appeal, attention to detail. Does that ringing a bell for you?
No.
There you go, Alberto. Sorry.
Well, I mean, that's true and all, and I'm not disputing it, but I probably said that in one of my long rambling, verbose discussions on comics, and I don't remember everything I said. I will say this though, in that regard, there was a brief period of time when I was doing those initial strips in the Dateline. I thought, hey, I'm going to change the title of this. I'm going to change it to you know how they call letters of comment, LOCs?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to call it DOCs, drawings of comment. So it would be just one page of my heads just talking,
Right.
no attempt to do any kind of drawing except for the heads and the expressions. And I did that for a few weeks or a few months, did maybe half a dozen of those, and then realized it was kind of boring and stopped doing it. But apparently I insulted somebody in there, a creator, and their work, and a particular, I'm not going to say it was, a particular strip that I didn't care much for. And I would see this particular person at a number of parties over the years, and they would always be kind of rather cool to me, and I didn't know why. Although I knew that I didn't really care for their strip, but I'd forgotten they had written this. And after my omnibus came out, I did an appearance in the store, and a fellow had said he read the thing cover to cover, which I was unable to do. I was occasionally looking at. I said, "Oh, but did I ever say anything bad about redacted?" And they said, "Oh yeah, it was in." I said, "Oh, okay." That explains all these. That was early on. I mean, I came to the point where I realized, doing comics, if you like them or you don't like them, but it's a lot of hard work, so you really shouldn't, insult these people for all the work they do. So I kind of pull back on the snarkiness after the first year or so of that, because comic fans can be a little snarky.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you were doing
yeah.
it in the age of the internet, my goodness, just imagine, all the detractors you'd have of your work if you were making fun of their favorite title or creator, or
Yeah,
yeah, I get
yeah,
it. I mean, but if you want to be in the business too, you kind of have to. You don't want to. Well, you don't want to walk on eggshells, but because you
yeah.
want to be able to be yourself and everything. But yeah, you don't want to make any enemies either, because you never know
Yeah,
when they might become your editor, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that didn't happen, but yeah, it
What
could.
was
It
your,
could.
you mentioned Jim Shooter earlier. I mean, obviously he green-lighted the Hembeck Destroys the Marvel Universe, but then he wasn't there when it came time to print him. What was your relationship with him? I mean, I've had him on the show a few times.
Yeah, Jim Shooter, boy. Um, First of all, I didn't realize until years later that I had set myself up with Mr. Shooter before I ever got anything published, because I said I'd written a number of comic book letters to people, like
Uh-huh.
the one that Bill Mantlo. I had forgotten that I'd done one sent one to Jim regarding his early work on when he was writing the Avengers, um, before he was the editor and stuff. Years later, he put it on his website, and someone sent me a link to it, and I went, "Oh, now I know why he liked me so much." Because oddest thing, I went to I'd had a few things published at a certain point, but I was walking around a convention in New York, and there was Jim Shooter standing there with two or three fans in the aisle talking, and he had just become the editor in chief. And I went over and introduced myself to him, and he seemed pleased to meet me. And he was then talking about how Marvel was going to be publishing all kinds of new stuff, and the creators might be able to own their own things, and we might be publish a Fred Hembeck comic. And I smiled and said, "Yeah, like that's ever going to happen." But I didn't say to myself. I said that, but I was pleased to hear him say that.
Hmm.
And then a few months later, he calls me up. I don't know if it's a few months later, but at a certain point, he calls me up and says, "We're going to do this Fantastic Four roast book. I had a writer in mind, but it really wasn't working with him. So I thought maybe, I don't know who it was. Um, Thought maybe you'd like to give it a try." So, "Oh yeah, that'd be fine." And that's how that all rolled along. So
Nice.
yeah, I sent him a nice letter. There we go.
There's a page from the Fantastic Four roast.
Inside front cover. The only things I got to draw, yes, to draw my own self. Well, I drew my own character on every page. That's true.
Oh, you
So
did?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
nobody else could do it, right? You were like, are you? That's funny. I did not know that.
yeah.
I was
And
trying
on
to.
the Captain America page there
Hmm.
has I'm not sure know if you're familiar with Bill Anderson. He's done inking over the years, and he used to live very close to me, but he was only like 16 or 17 years old. Didn't have a driver's license, so we would drive over together to the Fantico store to get our comics once a week. And he was really talented for like a 15, 16-year-old. And so when I got these pages, I let him ink. He inked Captain America's shield in one panel. So that was like his first published work. So, hey, Bill, you're probably not out there, but good job.
There, I got another. I got the full spread from the inside cover right here with the thing.
Oh yeah, there it is.
That's so funny.
When Titans chuckle, there you
go. Yeah, but I saw Michael McIsaac said that he read it so much the cover fell off, and Wiley Pui said, "What? I remember that book very fondly." Absolutely. I mean, those are fun, but it's kind of curious that that Jim saw the era, ahead, seeing the idea of like create your own books, and you being able to have your own book and those sorts of things before moving on to, before he left Marvel and everything. I mean, clearly that was in the air at that time, in the mid '80s, right? I mean, people were really starting to think more about that.
Yeah, the Epic line was just starting, so that was around that time.
That's true.
Yeah.
Glory days. Sorry, I'm just trying to.
It was so much easier back then to just have the Fred Hembeck character in there. They would just put a little copyright and stuff, and then they didn't use it for years and years. And do you remember when they came out with those Stan Lee books? What was it? Stan Lee in the Marvel Universe or something? They had me do a 2-pager, and
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. They had me do a 2-pager in there, and I used my Fred Hembeck character in it. And they had the lawyer call me up to make sure it was okay. 20 years later, 20 years earlier, I was like, woohoo, who cares? We'll just let him do it. But now I got a lawyer on the line. I mean, he was very friendly and it was no big deal, but it was still kind of funny.
He needed you to sign off on the fact that you were going to be published in a book, or your likeness. Because that's so, how that is these days. We were talking with Mike Allred over the weekend or last weekend on a panel, and they were talking about having to get Burt Ward's permission to draw that version of Batman, right? I mean, because likenesses are, you can sue somebody if your likeness is drawn into a book without your permission. So I get it, but but in the '70s nobody cared.
Right.
Looking at a couple other things here, but yeah, no, I mean, the thing that do you have any other books planned? I mean, when we were talking on when we were talking on the stream the other day, we were talking about documenting people's work in books, and you're an artist who's had already lots of major books done for you, but none. Is anything on the horizon? I mean, that you're talking to any potential publishers with?
No, not at this point. Maybe someday, but right now, this is taking up all my time, and it's fairly rewarding. So. What the heck? Because, when you do, I mean, if Marvel or DC came up to me and said, hey, you should do this, I would go, okay, probably. But a lot of the smaller publishers, they don't really pay a lot for the amount of time and effort you put into it. So it's just, I don't know. I still do a strip in the Comic Book Creator magazine that I like to keep the Dateline name alive. So that comes out from tomorrow's. For a while there, I was doing those covers for Comic Shop News, but then the publishers changed and the new publishers went in a different direction. Those were my 2 regular gigs for the last 5 or 6 years.
Well, we'll have to try to figure out how to get you more regular gigs. We want to see more of your published work out there.
Okay.
We'll find a way.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I think I've exhausted all of my questions that I had for you today, Fred.
Okay.
Should we dive into doing an auction or two, since we have 6 to do?
You're the
I'm the boss
here.
I'm in charge.
Yeah.
Well, I know everybody. We've got 88 people watching us live right now, and I think half of you half the people have given us the thumbs up already, so they need to, you know, that's something that's a sign of endearment here on YouTube. So we always encourage people to hit the thumbs up while they're watching the show, because it actually gets more people to come in and watch the show. So feel free to do that if you're in the audience. But yeah, we do it. We have 6 pieces of art to auction off today, and same rules apply that we've done in other auctions. I mean, as you know, I've actually got all the art in hand, so the art will be shipping from me. We will shipping is $30 US, 65 international. We need payment within 48 hours. I like Venmo and Zelle, and even a personal check work fine for me, as long as it's in the mail on Monday. If we have to go the PayPal route, I do charge a 4% service fee on that. But so please, Zelle, Venmo, and personal check are the way to go. Or if you live close enough, you can bring cash by. I don't care. That works too. But outside of that, you know, so it is auction format, and we have a, you know, very reasonable start point listed on each slide that we're going to show for you. You know, don't do dollar increments. You know how this goes. You know, at least put like $25 increments are fine. That'll help us get to the end of each auction lot quicker. Remember, before we even get started, if you're watching on YouTube, like most of you are, right next to the Fred Hembeck drawing there in the lower left-hand corner, there's the word live. Click that right now, because that will actually move you as close to live as possible, so you're as close to real time as everybody else in the chat. Because as we know, if you buffer or whatever, you could be 10 or 15 seconds behind us, so we don't want that. Yeah, that's not good in a live claim or auction environment. And so, and then the other thing, just to stress, don't snipe, because we are in the future. If I said I'm giving you a 5 count, by the time I'm already at 0 by the time you hear me say I'm giving you a 5 count. So just don't wait. Put in your highest bid as you go along, and it'll just make everybody happier. I will adopt the thing that Jiggy had me do in Paulo Rivera's auction last weekend, which is I'm just going to put a line in the chat, and when I hit that and it goes out to everybody, that's when the bids are cut off. So we'll just keep it really simple like that. And good luck to everybody who's doing this, because as you know, everything that Fred sold over the last couple of years have been at auction formats via eBay, so fits really well with what we're doing today. Alberto says we want a Bill Cox sketch card. I don't know, Fred, we can probably work that out. maybe that might be a big ask here, but let's see. So we'll go ahead and do this. We actually have 3 DC themed pieces and then 3 Marvel themed pieces. So, and the DC pieces are first, and then the 3 Marvel pieces are after that. So we'll go ahead and just get this thing started. Remember, hit the live button to be live, and we'll all be happier for it. Yes, I've dressed up as Gilligan, and they call me Billigan. So I've thrown that on and done my own gag. So yeah, that's been one of, you know, we had to entertain ourselves somehow, Fred, over the pandemic. Yeah. So I've dressed up as Thor, and I've dressed up as Billigan. That's where the cap mask has come from. I mean, I've done my fair share of humiliating things just to keep everybody entertained. But anyway, that's
showbiz.
It is. It really is. All right, so we're gonna get started here. The first piece that we've got is a recreation, like we've heard people wish they'd see you do every now and again. So this first one is a recreation for the Detective Comics 27, a very, very well-known piece. This is on a sketch card, and I can tell you that the first 2 lots that we're doing today are sketch cards. So opening bid on this one's 100. So I'll just always highlight the bids as they come in that are the highest. So EC's at 100. So that's a good place for us to start. I appreciate that, Ed. We've got now, you were talking a little bit about this earlier too, was that the reason you don't do these, because again, this is on, it's 2.5 by 3.5, and yet you've packed all of this detail into here. So I can see why these, it's easier to do the single character pieces versus doing these too often. But so what was the desire behind doing this cover? And have you done it before, ever one of these before?
I've done it before. That was part of the reason, because I knew it would be simpler than some. And of course, it's a very iconic cover. That was it. Sure. That was the main reason.
No, it's definitely one that we have well, did we ever do one? Chaikin did a recreation of this a couple years ago on one of my shows. Tariq is at 210, by the way, everybody. But yeah, no, it really looks awesome. And of course, it has on the back, it says, "This is a genuine Fred Hembeck classic cover redo sketch card, Detective Comics 27 from 1939. Original artist, Bob Kane, probably." And then your signature, self-portrait with the 2023 beside it. I probably should have scanned the back of these too, since that is something that you do with, on all of your sketch cards.
Usually I leave off the snarky comments, but whenever Bob Kane comes up, I can't resist.
I know. Well, yes. Marcus has met. Well, every time you see a piece of Bob Kane artwork, it's a question, right? That's the problem.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because we see that a lot in even with Charles Schultz pieces, Bill Watterson. I mean, because you're on eBay, you've seen these things before.
Mm-hmm.
There are too many forgeries out there, unfortunately, for artists who are no longer with us. So I mean, gosh, back in the 90s, people were forging Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld artworks at a regular pace, just because to make a buck on them.
Yeah.
Bob Kane art, I can't put my finger on it. I get it. Yep. And EC Harris says you should put more snarky comments on the back of your cards.
Yeah, I probably should to amuse myself, if nothing else.
Yeah.
That's fun. Sometimes I do.
Well, it is what it is.
Extra. Yeah.
Well, we got 260 is the high bid here with from TAMD1. Tariq, of course, is the name for that one. But if we don't get any other bids, obviously in the next 10 or 15 seconds, I'll close this one out. So if anybody else is interested, don't try to snipe it, because I'm not one to do the countdowns myself. I should actually make a little graphic on the screen that just pops up and counts down for everybody. But yes, if you're interested in this, throw a bid in now, and if not, forever hold your peace. I'm putting in my dotted line. I'm getting ready to throw that in there in the chat so we can cut everything off. So I'll say 10 seconds from now, we're done. But again, I appreciate everybody who threw a bid on this one. It's a beauty and a rarity. Make Nick Barucci do the countdown. Yeah, I could do that, Steve. All right, I'm going to throw that in there into the chat, and I have cut off bidding on this one. So thank you to Tariq on this one.
Thank you, Tariq.
Nice get for that one. We sincerely appreciate it. Let me hide that. And I have to say, when I didn't notice this till yesterday. I'd opened the package about a week or so ago when it came in. But as everybody knows, I mean, the sketches on the back of the cards that people are used to seeing are fun, right? Well, I had gotten the 9x12s were in an old Bristol tablet pad, and I didn't look at it until yesterday. But when I did, so I've actually got my own Fred Hembeck now.
There it is. Yeah, sure.
So thank you, Fred, for that.
You're welcome.
Right. So second card is another DC card. So let me go ahead and hide Tariq's final bid there. Very good. All right. Now this one I did show off. I think the last CAF update. So this is a Justice League card. Lots of figures on here. Let me highlight this one. So again, it's 2.5 by 3.5 inches. And do I need to count how many characters we got on this one? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We got 11 characters. I don't know how you squeeze 11 characters on a single sketch card, Fred, but you have. How often do you do cards with this many characters on them?
Oh, occasionally. Doing what I call I call them school portraits, because they just kind of line up like they're a class or something.
Yeah.
It's fun to get a big group in there, I haven't done that many in recent years, but there was Legion of Superheroes, Justice Society, Avengers. So, it's fun to do. It's a little tedious, but it's cool. It helps that the atom is small too. Squeeze them in there.
That is true. Well, I know on a couple of the one of the 9x12s, you managed to squeeze in a few of the diminutive characters from that universe. But
yes.
But now,
Yes.
do you do the multi-character pieces often on eBay? I mean, I know like with Christmas you get Santa and a character, but how often do you
Yeah.
do multi-character cards on eBay?
Um, it all depends, really. I haven't done them that much in recent times because I just haven't had time to spend as much time on the cards as I would like. So it's just easier to do a single card character. But I knew if I was coming on here today, I should do something a little more special, and that's why I do that. But I should do more of these group cards. And I did some at one point with like say Green Arrow and Black Canary, or what we would call romantic pairs, Batman and Catwoman. I should do those again. I haven't done those in a long time.
Yeah,
They're
well, I could see why those would be of interest to collectors. So right now we're Alberto's the high bidder at $250. So Mikhail says
Hi,
he's
Alberto. Thank
warming
you
up
so
his.
much, Alberto. Yeah, thank you all, actually.
Yeah, no. This is a good one. So I'll say, well, about 15 seconds. We'll close the bidding on this one. Alberto is our leader at $250.
I thought you were a leader, but okay.
Yeah, in spirit here, but
Yes, indeed.
yes, as far as the auction goes, this is Alberto's one to lose, but yeah, no, this is great. And again, and I have to tell you, I really appreciate the fact that you put the extra effort into these two sketch cards and the two pieces we're going to
Oh,
see next.
sure. No, that's you know, an opportunity like this does not come around too often, so I thought I'd bring out the A material. Not that I'm trying to foist off the B material on people, but I think I just made
No, we
myself
get it. We
sound
get
bad.
it.
All right.
All right. Well, it's a 5 count. So, now that I've said it, it's going to be over by the time you hear me say that. But I'm going to go ahead and call this one right there. So there we have it. So that one's closed to Alberto at $250. Thank you, Alberto.
Thank you.
And I did finally I got that Hawkman piece over here, but I just have to let's see if I can share the right screen. It's going to probably end up being a little small. Where is it? Here it goes. See if I can.
Oh, that Hawkman, yeah.
There we go.
Oh, that was a joke. Okay.
They called it Paul McCartney and Wings. Yeah, exactly. We get it. But thank you, Ram, for sending us that.
I didn't realize it was one of those DC strips. Yeah, I do remember that now. Yep. The one that I get the most comments on, and the
What's
one
that?
of the DC strips, is the one with Green Arrow and Black Canary, and he's like holding a steering wheel. He's in a car. They're in a car, and she leans over in the second panel and kisses him on the cheek, and he says, "What was that for?" And she says, "I'm just doing what the sign said." And he says, "What do you mean?" It says, "Turn on Green Arrow." And people have told me they remember that like their whole life. And they were like little kids and they didn't get it, but it's stuck in their head.
Exactly.
That's the one that's probably my favorite.
I like that one.
People
you still have that one?
Oh,
you
yeah.
Probably do.
I think I still have I never sold those things.
That's a good one.
Either. Someone told me that they think of that every time they at a traffic
driving with their wife or something. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I like it. Love it. Yep. Alberto says you are the king of puns. All right, so now we're going to move over to the 9x12s, and the first one is a DC one. So I wanted to keep the universes together. So
sure, why not?
Go ahead and show off. I can show you how very nice this thing is. I know I noted it on the slide, so we'll see how many. I think it's 16 characters are on this one. Made Green Arrow quiver. Someone said that. Okay. All right, so here's lot 3. So you get Justice Society of America on this one. It was 16 characters. It's on 9x12. Colors are beautiful on this thing, and yeah. I mean, how long is it? What's it take you time wise on something like this, Fred?
That's hard to tell. Because I do it in first I'll pencil it, and maybe I wouldn't even ink it that day. Well, when I do ink it, I wait a day for before I color it because so it's less likely to smudge, which I've learned over the years. Quite a bit, quite a probably a day's worth of work on these things if you accumulate them all together.
Right.
Add it all together. But I
So,
don't even know what a day's worth is because sometimes
well, like you said, you're working on
yeah,
several cards and several, and other things all at the same time.
yeah, exactly. Right. Like right now, I have a bunch of cards I have to color, but I have some pencil I need to ink. So yeah, it's kind of like a rotating situation.
Hmm. Well, we're at 5:25. Well,
Yeah.
5:50. Wayne Mousseau, my friend from Canada. Thank
People
you,
always
Wayne.
really liked Justice Society. They were before my time, but the first comics I bought, the third issue of the Flash I bought was Flash of Two Worlds, and also the first showcase had that Atom in it, and they had a 2-page text article which showed the Justice Society. So I was always fascinated by these characters that came about before I was born.
Hmm.
Because as old as I am, I'm not as old as the Justice Society, and just always liked drawing them. And people always seem to they always seem to be very popular when I would do pieces like this. I used to do pieces like this, but I gave it up when the pandemic came along, so I could just do the cards and not have to go into post offices. So it was fun doing these for the first time in a while. This one and the other one you'll show later.
Well, we got the bidding up to 650 so far. Thank you, one and all. I saw Nick Barucci have a bid in there. Brian Bailey is the top bidder on this one, and yeah, I'm very
Yes,
much a
Brian,
Marvel guy.
I
So
don't know
this
him personally, but he's a big Justice Society fan.
Black Canary's eyes are up there. Yes, they are. But yeah, for me, yeah, I know all the characters. I know a lot of the characters on here, everybody. I'm not that inept, but I am more of a Marvel guy, Fred. That's
Yeah,
my hang up. I never was a big DC reader growing up, but
yeah. I was
yeah,
more Marvel too, but I started with DC, so I kind of stuck with them.
sure.
You needed something else to read when the Marvels weren't there.
That is true. That is very true.
Mhm.
So let's see. So Brian Bailey is our top bidder right now at 650. Oh, Mr. Brucci has gone with it. He's gone with the 25 plus a little. He's at 678
Oh my!
as our top bidder. Thank you, Nick, for that. And Wayne tried coming in at 675, but this is the whole timing thing. Everybody, just remember to always hit that live button when we're in between auctions, so you can be up to speed with everybody else in the chat as well. So we got Nick Barucci, high bidder at 678. But yeah, no, well, it's good to see these multi-character pieces. I think when we look at, certainly when I do a Google search for you, Fred, I mean, the most popular images that usually end up coming up first in a Google search, and it's typically the multi-character pieces that that are always up there, number one. That you did your version of the Mary Marvel marching association thing that was done by Michael Golden originally, and
Oh yeah,
that piece was it was up there in the top 10 searches, and then of course your covers for the Fantastic Four roast, and
yeah,
I also
yeah. I
think,
actually redid that several times.
oh, you did, oh cool. And
Yeah,
then
one
I
time in
forget,
full
well,
color.
oh, the
I'm
House
not.
of Hem book is like another image that I think a lot of
Oh
people
yeah,
have seen. That one's very popular. I think the Facebook group uses that one as like the header graphic for it.
yeah. That
um,
was fun.
Everybody loves all the squiggly knees, exactly. But Brian Bailey, top bidder on this one at 700. So we'll say 15 seconds. We'll close the bidding out on this. But thank you everyone for putting bids in this. We appreciate it. Ilya says, "Why the ladder Hawkman mask?" See, I don't know how many iterations there were of his mask.
Well, just to differentiate him from the Justice League one, because otherwise it would look pretty much very similar. So I went with that one. Yeah, that was why. Same, the Atom is a different choice too because he had a different costume. But I like this one better to draw. So what are you going to do?
Hey, you gotta, the artist has to stay happy when they're drawn. So if this one
Exactly.
made you happier to do it, then that's the way it
Oh
goes.
yeah, I like drawing these characters. That's why I picked them too, and I know they're popular. But yep.
All right. Well, we're closing the bidding on this one. Thank you, Brian Bailey, for getting this one at
Thank you, Brian.
$700.
Yep.
Nick wants to know if there's an extension. Well, I'm not doing a full-on countdown, Nick. I'm leaving the bidding open. Just, I think you might have missed earlier, but yeah, just don't snipe, because at the end of the day, if you get outbid, put your bid in right away to counter it, because you know how the auctions and the live stream format, as well as I do, how hard they are to do it. Nick has his regular show on Fridays where he sells art. Just
Oh,
don't delay on the bids, because that always, is a recipe for disaster. I've found in these formats. So, but fortunately we have 3 more pieces, and they are the Marvel pieces. 2 are published, and we have 1 more 9x12, which we're going to show off and do next for lot number 4. So I showed this off on Thursday, but I'll show it.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Look at that. Now this one has 17 characters on it.
Yep. 2 small ones, but okay.
But they count, and one that's only a head and a very long neck, but that counts too.
Yeah.
And of course, what is it? The most important character here? Oh no, it wasn't Captain America. Don't get all excited, Alberto. It's Cyclops right there. That's my favorite character, Fred.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
from the X-Men. From the X-Men,
yes.
Cyclops is my guy.
Good old original X-Men.
To the chagrin of everybody in the chat. So we'll go ahead and get lot 4 up on the screen. And are people throwing bids in already? I haven't even shown the artwork yet, but I guess we can go with that. So here we go. So here's lot 4, 17 characters on 9x12. Whoops. So I'm highlighting the wrong ones because the chat's going by so quickly. But here we go. $900. And it looks like Kazra has Jason on the phone, and he is putting in bids for Jason. Very good. So we're at $900 to get started off. Thank you, Alberto.
That's nice.
Well, it's got Cap on it. I
Yeah.
know Cap is Alberto's favorite character. So that's a strong way to get us going here. We appreciate that. But
this is like Marvel 1964, even though Ant-Man and Wasp really from 1963. But that's like my favorite time. I love 1964 Marvel comics. I was wondering if I should do Daredevil in yellow and red, but I said I'll just go with the red, because at the end of the year he was all red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love these characters.
As do I. Now, you left out Beast, of course, from this, even though he was still in the
yeah. I couldn't get all the X-Men in there. You're right. I left out the Beast and Marvel Girl.
And Marvel Girl. That's true. Yep. You did your best. It's 9x12. You still got.
Come on.
You got 17 characters on here on 9x12. I
At
dare.
least the X-Men are, at least they're represented.
I would dare any modern artist out there today to try to squeeze 17 characters on a 9x12. I just, I think Fred Hembeck's going to come out on top.
I've had all that training doing the sketch cards, so drawing them all on 9x12 wasn't that difficult. I'm used to drawing small.
That's true. You're actually working up. I think somebody said that these are like 8. Was it 8 times? I don't know. There's 8 sketch cards in one of these. So yeah, if you can't fit at least almost a dozen characters in here, something's wrong. But we're at $1,100 on this one for Mr. Scott Wingo. Thank you, Scott.
I see that. That's very nice.
Indeed.
Because as you can see when you put up the cover later, that was done on I did pretty much the printed size. I've been working printed size in recent years when I do strips and things. Yeah, there you go.
Yep, yeah, Alberto's at $1,200 right now. Thank you, Alberto.
Yeah.
Cyclops is hiding behind the true leaders, says Mikhail. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Well, come on. This is in 1963. Cyclops was just getting started. He needed a few issues to get through where he had his confidence.
He had to stand behind the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. X-Men were just kind of like new kids.
He knows to stand behind Cap and the Thing. He's not stupid.
Yeah. No.
And he's got the Thing between him and the Hulk. I mean, Spider-Man, look, he's just asking for trouble dropping in there right next to the Green Goliath. So
I know.
So Brian Bailey says, wow, I'm so glad that DC isn't as popular as Marvel here. Well, that's true in general, Brian. But yeah, so we're at $1,200. I think we can go 15 seconds more on this one, and then we'll call it. Again, thanks to everybody who placed bids on it. But if you want to place another one, please do so in the next 5 seconds, because otherwise we'll be calling this soon and moving on to the 2 published pieces that we have for your enjoyment today. So, which I've kept both completely secret, Fred. They do not know anything about them.
I didn't tell anybody either.
See, so we can keep a secret. All right, Scott is out, and I had just hit enter on the cutting out the bid. So Alberto, thank you so much, Alberto.
Thank you, Alberto. Thank you so much, as I always thank you.
1,200 on that one. So
let's
hide it. Let's see, hide the current comment, hide the slide. So now we're going to show the first piece is not the cover. It's going to be an interior page from Marvel Age, and this one's kind of, I mean, it's interesting because I figured, Fred was kind of up on the times with, why this page would be of interest to many people who are Spider-Man fans. But, because of, Spider-Man 2099 is so important and out there these days. We know a certain artist who's getting a lot of time at cons because of that. And it's a great thing. But you weren't aware of any of that, were you, Fred, when you sent me this?
No, not at all. Not at all. I just thought it would go over better than my salute to Barbie. And yes, I did do a salute to Barbie because Barbie was a Marvel comic for a while. I did do a Marvel Age page with Barbie. I believe it has something to do with Tony Stark, but still in all,
I'm going to show this one off, but I think the Barbie one might have done okay, but it won't as done, do as well as this one did. So this is Marvel from Marvel Age 125. I didn't write the page number down. I apologize. It was like 3/4 of the way through the book when I was looking at it earlier. We've already passed the opening bid on this, but it's on 11x17. It is the only 11x17 piece that we do have out here today. What do we got?
When I was drawing in the Bigly, I was drawing Bigly in those days.
Yes, you were. I mean, so that's why when I got this, I'm like, wow, Fred's following the movies. He knows that, what characters are popular in here. But you get a pair of Punishers in here as well. You get Dr. Doom. I mean, this pretty much has it has so many great things about it. And it's got your humor in it. We've got up to 1,500 here from Justin Porter.
Jokes also included. Yeah.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I just said jokes also included.
Jokes included. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do a dramatic reading, everybody. We do that every now and again here on the channel. But yeah, the 2 Punishers, of course, had guns and shot themselves. So they're out. Then Dr. Doom is looking in the mirror and arguing with himself. Of course, it's the 2099 version of Doom. So yeah, it's fantastic. And you get the big by Fred Hembeck there at the end. Sorry, we got, we're up to $3,000 by Scott Wingo now. So yeah. Like I said, I knew that this one was going to be very popular with everybody. It is a fantastic piece. So EC's in at 3,025. Nick Barucci's in at 3,333. Thank you, Nick Barucci. Scott Wingo is pushing all his chips in at $4,000. So thank you again. This is great, and this is the kind of stuff, Fred, I thought you wouldn't have anymore. But again, it was. And the thing is, this is all you, the lettering, the art, and wait, now there isn't anything written on the back. No, it's just, it does have, you signed it on the front with the 1993/2023 down there in the bottom. Somebody said that somebody should have bid $20.99 for it, but yeah, we passed that a bit ago. This was Brett Mixon wanted to know the year. This was done in 1993. So if you want to go ahead and Google Marvel Age 125, you'll see that it came out, I think, January 1993, as a matter of fact. So it's closing in on being a pretty old piece of art at the end of the day, almost 31 years. So,
and that's on my later. I have a lot of earlier ones than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly,
Age,
I think we could do other shows, Fred. We could definitely find a few other pieces that might interest people. But this is all classic stuff, and so timely when it was coming out, because that was early days of the 2099 era and everything. So yeah, and you have 2 nice large figures here of both Spideys. So I'm not seeing any more bids coming in there after we got the bid from Scott. So I'm gonna say in 15 seconds, everybody, unless you want to throw another bid in there, we're gonna call it at the $4,000 mark with Mr. Scott Wingo. And Scott, just so you know, Fred, Scott is known as McSpidey fan because he's a big Spidey McFarlane collector.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yes. So
Okay.
yeah, we'll say 10 seconds now. But remember, at 10 seconds, it's at 5 for us. So if you're going to throw a bid in, do it now, or we're going to call it for Scott. Yeah. I think it's great. But all right, everybody. I think fair warning, says bootlegging. You know it. All right. So I'm going to hit enter on my my little slide here and get it in there. All right. So we've closed out on that one. Scott, congratulations. You got a fantastic piece here. And thank you so much for the $4,000 bid on that as well. I mean, Fred and I didn't even show the other slide. I got so carried away. There is the colored version. This is the as published version of it. So apologies for not showing that. I went through the trouble of making it. So there, I got to show it.
Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely. James Siegel he threw in his closing line as well. So all right. So final piece of the day is a published variant cover to the and get I'm sure some of you have Google open right now because you want to see it for yourself as well. It is and it is done on 9x12, just so you know. It's done just a little bit bigger than the published version of it. But this is issue 3 to the all new, all different Avengers. So here was the published version of that book and the original art to that book. So you see just a little bit bigger than the comic itself, and of course a little bit smaller.
And you get the signed comic as well.
That is true. The comic is signed up there in the UPC symbol. So let me go ahead and get the slide up there before I get too carried away.
If I'd had an extra one of those Marvel Ages, I would have tossed it along too, but I couldn't find one.
That's okay. There again, I think we might have Fred Brewery coming up in a few months.
I think we might.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be adverse to that.
So yeah, you get plenty of characters on here. Black Panther is kind of covered up by Black Widow, but you got
you can tell who it is.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You got Hawkeye in there, Wonder Man, Thor, Beast, and now we get Beast. See, Hercules, Ant-Man, Cap. I mean, come on, this is this is wonderful. And so we're up to 3,000 there on Alberto. I do have the colored. There you can see it. I was holding it up anyway, but there's the published version as well. But yeah, this is great. And again, this was published. What year was this? Was it 2019? I forget now. Let me see. I know I'd written it down.
It's written on the back. It might be written on. Maybe not. Oh, well, the comic book will tell you. But the indicia these days are so small you can't really read.
I know. I got to get my bifocals out.
Exactly. What year was that? Wasn't that long ago.
Oh, 2016. 2016.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a while ago now.
All right. So we are up to $4,000 on that one as well, to Alberto.
Okay.
Thank you, Alberto. Saw Wayne was in there at 3,500. EC Harris came in just over 3. Thank you, everybody, for putting. Yes, exactly. The Beast is eyeing the Black Widow, as is Hercules.
Yes.
They've all got a view of her wonderful physique.
Yep.
So EC says he's out as well. Yeah, Alberto is definitely going for the win on this one. But yeah, I mean, again, how often do you get, I don't know, in your career, how many covers have you done, Fred, do you think?
Well, Marvel had me do a whole bunch at this point. It was like 7 or 8 of them. But
I thought during this period you had a lot of variants or several that came through. But I mean,
yeah, there was. They all were made at the same time, all done at the same time. But prior to that, I guess there's no more than of Marvel comics. Probably no more than a dozen, maybe less. Some of them I don't have anymore.
And it is Black Panther that is behind her her hair there, everybody.
Yes, it is.
So it's Black Widow coming out of the panel, I guess out of the second panel to
swing. Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, right. There's nobody in that second panel.
That was the way I read it. See, I read more into it than there was, Fred.
Yeah, you read more into it than I thought when I drew it.
Oh man, but Yeah, the Thor, it does look like a high school senior picture, doesn't it? Yeah, very very
Yeah.
true. Thor and Fly. I agree with you there. Who's between Black Panther? No, I think she's coming out of that panel. That's the way I wrote it.
Yeah, there's nobody behind her. I'll go with your deal there.
Okay, and Nick Brucci said you did at least one cover for Dynamite.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I'm thinking of Marvel and DC. Yeah, I did. It's true. I did a couple. I have done a couple in recent years for some of the independent companies. That's true. I just realized now they miscolored this. If you look at the Black Widow's hair in the panel with
Oh yeah, right. They
Hercules.
as if Hercules had a flat top there or something.
Yeah,
Or yeah.
yeah,
Well,
man.
hey,
Well, that'll kill the price.
of the comic.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. But all right, we're going to do a 15 count on here. I saw Alberto said he had to go get the mail. He wanted to make sure he was still top bidder. Yes, you are, Alberto. But we've been talking about the piece, so we'll just say in 10 seconds from now we'll close everything out. Hercules is singing a Monty Python song, says Mike Sellers. Yes, he probably is. And Mikhail, we'll see you later. Got to run for lunch, but Fred will be back. We'll probably try to get Fred back in February.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Fred Brewery. Fred Brewery?
Fred Brewery. Yes.
Fred Brewery.
We'll have to come up with a really interesting logo for that, Fred. All right. I'm calling this one in the chat for Alberto. Thank you, Alberto.
Yay, Alberto. Yay.
Very, very, very well done. Yes, we both thank you so much. That's that did very well. Well, congrats, Fred. That went really well. And again, TMD1, Alberto, Brian Bailey, and Scott, again, and everybody else who threw bids in there. We appreciate each and every one of you. And
yes, we do.
The good thing is that if you didn't pick up something here today, just head over to eBay. And everybody knows I promote Fred's auctions all the time in the eBay promoted auctions on Comic Art Fans. So I'm a fan. You can always pick up something from Fred. Please do continue to. We need more people in our in the Facebook group cheering everybody on, because that's one of the things that everybody likes to do when you post your auctions. They're like, oh, this is a great one. I've been waiting for that one. So you have a lot of fans out there, Fred.
Yes, apparently, and I thank you all. You've gotten me through the last 10 or 15 years when I stopped doing Marvel and DC stuff on a regular basis. Thank you all, and I appreciate really all the patronage I get. It's fun to draw these things, and it's nice that I can do it. And thank you, Marvel and DC, for not suing me.
Exactly. Things might be a little different today, but it is what it is. But so those of you who won, my email address. I think every one of you has picked up things from me one way or another. So bill@comicartfans.com. Let me know how you want to pay if you can. And in the email, include your mailing address. It just helps us get to the end game. Obviously, I can, if I get payment within the next few days, we'll be able to get these things in the mail. Everything's in hand. So Fred, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed getting to hang out with you here on a Saturday afternoon. So
me too.
It's well worth our time, and I look forward to getting to see you again in February. And I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving next week, and and you get Christmas
and you as well,
Hanukkah coming up as well. And I know now you've got some suggestions on cards to do over the next 30 to 45 days.
Look for those Warriors 3; they'll be coming along before you know it.
I might have to bid on those because Thor is actually my favorite Marvel character. I mean, the X-Men are my favorite team. Thor and that whole world. The Warriors 3 were always the best. That's when I started reading in the Buscema days, and I love the way he handled those 3 characters. There were just too many great ancillary characters around Thor, Balder and Sif, and the Warriors 3. Even Odin was okay, even though he was a grouch. But anyway, all right. So I guess we'll call it, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you again next week. Thanks, Fred.
Thank you.